Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue with a new Maribel Blue Unfiltered Interview Edition. As you can see here, I have Lara from Survivor Source, and I have Kristen, and I'm sorry, I can't remember where she's from, but she's gonna give us all of that information. This is the interview edition of Unfiltered. So if you are new here, welcome. I do everything from docu-series, as you can see in the playlist here on this channel, Pathetically Unfiltered, which is the news and reaction segment, and of course, this here interviews. And if you are not new, welcome back. Let's get started because this is going to be a very informative interview, but I'm going to say this in advance. Viewer discretion is advised. If you get triggered easily, please, please, please know in advance. We are going to be talking about sensitive topics here that have to do with human trafficking. This is a topic that's very, very important because of our political stance right now of where we are at and who is in the White House. And if you saw my last segment on Pathetically Unfiltered, I uncovered a lot of information from the look of the year, how our dear leader has been involved in all of these various contests that had to do with 14-year-olds. And I put all of those sources in that link below in that video. And I will also put that here with everybody else's. So let's get started. Let's start off with Lara. Lara, welcome to the Unfiltered Interview Edition. Please tell us a little bit about Survivor Source and how that all began for you.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me, Maribel. It's so nice to be here with my sister, Kristen. So, Survivor Source is actually an organization that I founded last year in June, the end of June. And it came about because of a lot of the gaps that I witnessed in coming out of being trafficked. So I actually was trafficked for 10 years of my life and I got myself out. And every time that I looked for resources, it was really hard for me to find any. And I always just gave up on it and figured things out by myself. And that led to me realizing that there are a lot of resources out there for survivors. It's just really hard to find them for one, and
Mhm.
for two, there still are major gaps in the service industry when it comes to helping survivors. And a lot of what we lack is community as well. So, a lot of what I developed into Survivor Source when I was creating it was putting resources together and finding resources in different states and that offer services nationwide for survivors, as well as building a community for survivors. So, that led to a partnership which created the Survivor Career Community, which is one of the biggest parts of Survivor Source right now. And we host about 65 members throughout the United States and then one person in Africa, which we are happy to have everyone there. And we meet every Monday night. Kristen usually helps co host that for me. And we have a website specifically for them and for other survivors to find professional development tools. And we kind of just talk about different professional development things. We share job leads and we share resources and we share funding opportunities that are in the survivor movement. And we kind of just grow in the space together. So it's kind of shaped what Survivor Source has become, and it's been very peer based, and it's been amazing.
That
Thank you.
really is. It's I always believe in community. If a lot of
Absolutely.
people don't know, which I'm sure they know by now, because I this is not something that I hide. I have been clean and sober now the last 34 years. And it's a long time,
It's amazing.
you know, to be clean for that long. If it wasn't for the 12-step community, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And in that regard, with community, it's very, very important to have that connection, to have that identification that you are not alone in the journey and that all of us together can get through this. Kristen, I want you to jump in and just tell us a little bit about your organization and how you work with Survivor Source.
Hi, thank you for having me on. I'm Kristen. Hi, I'm from Virginia. I feel like I have to introduce myself on TikTok. I'm like, from Virginia, 44, voted for, but that doesn't matter here. That's just my automatic intro thing now. But no, so I'm a trafficking survivor. I was trafficked from 2000 to 2005 ish, with in and out of jail. And finally the way I got out was, and it's, my dad actually found out where I was, and my dad and he came with some things, pew pews, baseball bats and whatnot, and demanded that they let me out. And they were like, "Yo, Kristen, your dad's here. You have to go." Up until that point, I've actually been in a basement with a padlock on the outside with three other girls. So that was a really, and I immediately went to a program in Nashville, which is really great program. It's called Physical Farms. And 2 years, and I got myself together. So I've been working in this. I said I'd say I've been working in this movement since 2009. So I finally started my own nonprofit. It's called Second and 50th. The reason I call it Second and 50th is because as survivors, we really don't get a chance until that second chance. But most of the time, it takes 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 chances. So I've called it Second and 50th, and our logo is a street sign with, Second Street at the intersection of 50th Street. I have an incredible advisory board. We have three initiatives that we're doing right now. We're partnering with Laura on the biggest one that we're doing. Is called Levi's Legacy, and we're partnering with Devil Dog Canine to do that. Devil Dog Canine is a veteran and woman owned and a woman owned business in Illinois, and they train service dogs. Sherlock here is one of the very first dogs ever to be
Hey,
trained
Sherlock.
ever to be trained. You heard his ears perked up. Ever to be trained specifically for a human trafficking survivor. Then the experience with me and him and with Devil Dog Canine was so transformative for me that I wanted to be like, you know what? I want to give this to other survivors. How can we do this? So Laura is now going to be the very first recipient of our very first service dog under Levi's Legacy. Her name is Luna, and she is now being trained specifically for the things that Laura needs in a service dog. And I mean, I could talk about service dogs all day long. And I'm not gonna say that's the thing that I really want to just tell everybody about was the service dog program. So, and we're doing a couple other things. We supply, like, if survivor needs 4 new tires, we can help with that. And we're also doing I do OSINT, which is open source intelligence, and we find missing kids and victims. I was unable to prosecute my trafficker due to the statute of limitations in the state that I'm in. So the
Mm.
most empowering thing for me is now helping prosecute, find, report other traffickers, and then find other victims. And we've been very, very successful in the things that we do. I have a great CTO. His name is Larry Cameron. Laura knows Lara. Larry knows Laura. So I have, like, basically, like, the top cyber tech professionals, like, on the planet on my team, and we get a call, or we get a missing kids flyer, or a parent calls, or direct service calls, and they're like, "Hey, there's a kid." They're typically the ones that we look for are like 14 to 17, 18. They're usually black and brown girls whose parents made the mistake that they probably didn't know of telling the police officers that they were a runaway, or we got into a fight, or they were using drugs, something like that, which immediately makes law enforcement check out. So then they stop here like, oh, they're willingly ran away, and they just don't prioritize it. So that's when we get a call. Attorney General's office calls us. Like I said, referral all the time. We do this completely for free, all volunteers. And I'll be like, who's got capacity? We'll start a group, and we'll do OSINT, and we're finding people. So I want to teach other survivors to do that and make that a paid program. So Laura and I are building out a bunch of stuff together. We're working on so many things. We're doing a retreat in October. We're doing so much. So I'm really excited to work with her and partner with her, because as a survivor leader, there's two different kinds of survivor. I'll say this, and I will land my plane. There's two different kinds of survivor leaders. There are the survivor leaders who are paraded around and tokenized. And here, go tell this group your sad story so that we can make money, right? There are organizations that will make professional victims out of survivors. Then there are survivor leaders like Laura. Then there are survivor leaders like me. There are survivor leaders like Oriole, where we're like we don't. I don't. I do keynotes, and I do speak, but I don't talk about my sad story. I'm like, give you a 2-minute intro of what happened to me, but then guess what? We're going to talk about what I'm doing now. Let's talk about, like, all the initiatives I have. Let's talk about policy, bills, and legislation, because we want to be seen as professionals first, And it's just extra that we're a survivor. We've been through it. Yeah. In a nutshell. I mean, I could talk about this
Kristen,
for 3 hours. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. I just want to say that I think it's important for all of us to understand not to bypass with a minimum of concern about what happened to you. Have you been through therapy? Because we're
Oh
talking
gosh, yeah.
about
Oh yeah.
being
Absolutely.
locked up. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
I can't fathom it. Like, how do you escape? You just said your father helped you escape, but
Well, yeah. So I went on a date one night, whatever you want to call it, and the guy that was the only time. So I was also, but this is the side quest. I was also a chef. I was training to be a
Mhm.
chef. That's when I kind of was groomed by other women, and it just everything went downhill. Because these were the dope
Wait,
boys.
wait, wait. By the women.
Oh yeah, 3 women groomed me and brought me into the fold, and I found out later they were actually paid to bring me in because I used to walk to work and I was in a new city. I was not like I just terminated a pregnancy because from a sexual assault and at college, and I left. I was in the pre-law program, and I like the college called my parents and were like, "Hey, you got to come get her. She's not going to class. She's depressed. She's not eating. She's not doing nothing. Like, you got to come get her." So my parents came
Can
and
I
got
just
me. Yeah.
can I
Yes.
just interject for a minute
Yes.
here?
Absolutely.
Because I really really want to express the point you just made about being groomed by other women.
Yes, ma'am.
And then both of you who have been groomed in some form or another begin your own organizations as women to help other women. If I went through this experience and had been groomed by another woman, how can I trust you? What are the steps that you're taking to be able to build that trust? Because we're talking about broken people
Yeah.
at the moment. So I want Lara, because you're working with
Yeah.
Source.
Yeah. She
How
works
do you
directly
take the
with victims. I
steps?
can't do it.
You do too, though, Kristen. I know you always say, I can't do it, I can't do it, but you do it.
She's
And
so
you
good.
also
She's so good
meet with
at
me every Monday with my whole group. So
it.
stop it, first off. Secondly, I will say this, like, women grooming in that life is very common. And I don't know if Kristen can attest to this too, but when you are in that life and you are under pimp control, you are oftentimes required to recruit, if not attempt to recruit, or some level of
Make friends.
something.
And it's very much
Yeah,
like
you got to
it's
make
very much like
friends. You got to
you know how
try.
cults you know how cults do like love bombing? Like
Yeah,
like
Yes.
like really quick, like really fast, like, and that's how it was with me. And it was little things like I was walking, I was like I had my shift jacket on, like my hair in pigtails, and I'm like my book bag, and I'm walking to the restaurant that I worked at, and these girls, and I would stop and get a pack of cigarettes or a drink or something, and these girls would always be there. And then it became like I started, and I was clean at the time, and they were like, they were smoking weed and smoking it and getting high outside, and I was like, like so, and I was like, so I did that with them one day. Then, like a couple of days later, it just very quickly progressed. They were hanging out at
yeah,
my house. Then I started getting into like hard drugs again with them. Lost my job, and they're like, "Oh, you can move in with us." And that was like the house of horrors. But it was 100% women that befriended me. You're my sister. We're family.
yeah.
Yeah, it was 100%. So, yeah.
The
Wow.
my first trafficker when I got brought in, he already had his what we call a bottom, which is like the stable. She's the one that's always going to be there. He trusts her, whatever.
Hmm.
She's the one that trained me. She's the one that was on the out there in the field with me all day, every day. I interacted with her more than him. You know what I mean? It was
Same.
common, and you could be more comfortable around the women because they weren't going to be as abusive, you know. But at the same time, I didn't have I had more trust issues with men than I did women, even coming out of those situations. I have no clue how
Yep.
to explain it, but I still did.
When you think about that relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, it's almost like normalcy in that world to have that
Oh, yeah.
type of
Absolutely.
woman who grooms other women to recruit. They didn't have a normal relationship as what we would know what normal relationships are, built out of respect. Their relationship was something of sickness and dementedness, and at the
It was
same time,
transactional, and it
right.
was a value-based system, and that's
Hmm.
everything that the life is when you're in it.
Traffickers and people that exploit other people prey on vulnerability. They literally can see, like they saw me coming. Like I was ripe for
Yeah.
From a
pickings.
mile away.
Like they saw, yeah, they saw me coming. So like they look for vulnerabilities, and so you can, and like I for a long time didn't think I had a story because like I can't. I can also say I come from very privileged, very well-to-do background, very highly educated. There's a thing called ACE scores, which are adverse childhood experiences. Yeah, anybody can take it. You can Google it, and it asks questions like, "Did you have a parent or family member that physically harmed you when you were growing up? Did they do different things?" Anyways, most trafficking victims, their ACE scores are like 7 to 10. Mine is a zero.
This is why I love talking with
I had
Kristen because
no
we're
adverse
opposite
experiences.
spectrums.
You're right. No, mine
I
a
mean, I'm
lovely
thinking, what
childhood.
happened when your dad came and rescued you? What happened to the other two girls? Like, please tell
So
me
they
that they
had
were
to carry.
rescued somehow.
They had to they carried that my dad had to carry me out screaming and kicking and crying because I refused to leave without them. It had got so bad, maybe like to a point I asked the dudes that were had us down there. They would like sometimes they would like be like, "Do you need new clothes or something like that?" Or we're going to the store, whatever. And I had them buy me sidewalk chalk. There were no windows in that basement. So I took the sidewalk chalk and I drew like mountains and rivers and sunshines and like the whole downstairs. And I'm a Christian, and I talked to the other two girls about Christ, and we did the came to Jesus. And we it was I never this is the thing, I was never scared ever. I Every single minute that I was there, I knew that it was somewhere that I didn't want to be, but I felt like that God had me there for a reason. And to see now the work that I do, 100%, 100% know that I was there because so that I could come and continue to do this work, whether it be the universe, whether it be God, whatever you believe in. I absolutely was set up to do that. But the other two girls, yes, they got out a couple weeks after that. Actually, the city of, and I'll say it, the city of Roanoke in Virginia actually raised that house to the ground. It no longer exists because there was so much nefarious activity that went on there. So many people were harmed there that the city just like put a bulldozer and put it down. So that I may or may have not gone by there, and I may or may have not planted a whole bunch of wildflowers in the middle of the night that still grow there in the middle of the city.
And I guess my next question would be, what are the signs that a young girl should be looking out for? Because a parent cannot have their eyes on their child all day long. And we live in a time where social media is alive and well. We have different apps, we have different ways to access. TikTok is one of those apps, Instagram, Facebook. We have a lot of different apps where we can connect basically with strangers. How can a parent recognize signs to ensure that their child is safe when they're out there? What can a parent tell a child? Here's what you need to look out for. Me growing up, my mom would say, if a stranger came to you and said, I was in the hospital, ask them what the safe word is. We knew what the safe word was. But when you're online, that's an entirely different stories. We have predators who have become experts in how to speak to a child so that the child feels that there's a relation going on, an identification the child understands. What do we tell parents what they need to look out for?
If I could answer this from a survivor and as a mother perspective, and then Kristen can hit this like over the head because she knows all the internet stuff. As a survivor and as someone that never planned to have kids, I actually have a son with my last trafficker. And I know your last question was about the therapy, but I had to go through a lot of therapy, a lot of trauma therapy, specifically EMDR or EDMR. I always say it wrong, so it's one of those. And I had to literally rewire my brain to not have flashbacks every single day and to be able to be more present for my kids. So I think that's one big thing is if you do have any unaddressed trauma in your life, or if you are struggling to function day to day to take care of your mental health as a parent, that's number one. And number two, I also, because of what I've been through and not ever wanting kids or planning on kids, I always talked to my kids like they were adults, like they were grown enough to understand and comprehend everything that was going on in our lives. So my son knows when we go, He's only 7, so he doesn't have access to anything that he can talk to people online with right now.
Okay.
But when we do get to those stages, I am going to be telling him, and I've already been telling him on these apps and on these games that your friends are playing that you're not allowed to play yet. Grown-ups make accounts and pretend to be kids to talk to children. That happens. And I straight up tell my kids, that's your penis, that's your vagina, these are words. When a man touches a woman and she says no, you stop. All of those things. They know the literal terms, they know all the phrases, they know what consent means, they know literal definitions, and they know that there's predators online. At the
Hmm.
age of 7, like, I don't care. He's gonna know that's the real world. And at the end of the day, if I died tomorrow, he's gonna be thrown into that real world quicker than he can imagine. So I put it out there very bluntly for them at a young age, but I also don't like overdo it. Like, I don't traumatize them with it. You know what I mean? There's a line,
Right.
but I also think that with the internet access the way it is, there's kids in my son's class in second grade with phones that they're sharing things. Look at this, look at that. So I don't even know what he's seeing on actual technology every day at school. But a lot
Hmm.
of times he will tell me things and we talk about it. And if he doesn't, I ask him. Kristen, you want to go ahead?
So first, I wanted to just touch back on the therapy part. Yes, I've been in intense therapy for a very long time. But the problem I'm having lately is the last two therapists that I had cried, and I didn't even tell them my whole story. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't working. So I am going to start EDMR with the rapid eye movement. And people like swear by it. And so I think I have an appointment in like a couple weeks to start that. But like I'm 16 years removed, and I
It's
still
life
have.
changing. It's life changing, Kristen. I'm telling you,
That's
if
what
you,
everybody tells
it's
me.
hard though. It's really hard. Like, you feel weird as heck after every session.
Yeah.
With multiple traumas, it's a lot more. But if you can stick to it, I'm telling you, I swear by this. I really do.
Okay, yeah, and that's you're
Mm.
the one that convinced me. Like I've heard that from other people, but your review of it and your feedback has like convinced me to like go ahead and make the appointment. So, and that's another reason like that I have a service dog. My PTSD is very, very like reactive. Like slam it. Like if I've been with my boyfriend John. He's amazing. We've been together for almost 7 years. We live together. If he comes into a room that I'm in and I'm not expecting him, I jump, and it puts me in
Hmm.
that fight or flight mode, and I can't help it. And it takes me like 30 or 45 minutes for all of everything to come down from that. So he texts me. He'll be like, I'm coming in the bedroom. Or do you like, he'll like, he's very, but he, like, we like try to learn all that together. And one reason, one of the big reasons that I have Sherlock is that I have really bad night terrors. They're always
Hmm.
the same nightmares, and they're always the same of their things that I went through during trafficking. And I am terrified. I sleep with pew pews and baseball bats behind every door. I've got 9 security cameras. Then that is not unusual for survivors of trafficking. That is not unusual at all. So, and I have a dog. But Sherlock has been trained to wake me up during nightmares. And he's done it 3 times so far, like in the past month, where I'll wake up and he'll be on my chest licking me or barking at me. And oh gosh, what was the question?
You were talking about therapy, and the last thing you had said about was the therapist getting emotional, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
said that may
Yeah,
not
like,
work
I
out
was
for
in here
you.
telling her my whole story, and she just started tearing up, and, like, I live in a very rural area, so I understand that my therapists here have not been exposed. Yeah,
Hmm.
honestly, to meet a trafficking survivor that is as open as I am or as open as Laura is not the norm. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I understand. I'm sorry. I live in the country. There's tractors and stuff going up the road. So I understand it's a lot, all right? Like when I meet people, not just like I'm a trafficking survivor. This happened to me, and I was abducted, and poly victimization, and da da da. Like I know that's a lot to take in. So I was
Hmm.
really hoping. I think I'm just gonna have to do like an online therapy, like a regular like CBT type therapy thing, like with BetterHelp or something, for somebody that like actually knows what they're talking about. Because
Yeah.
they would when I would tell them, they would be like, "Well, what do you mean by trafficking?" And so then I go into my whole the legal definition of trafficking is force, fraud, or coercion. And I'm sitting there giving them a 101 on trafficking while I'm paying $150 for them to give me therapy. But when I went through this, trafficking was not a word, right? Like
Yeah.
we were just straight up prostitutes. Imagine
That's
being a
what all
dad.
my charges said
Yep,
too.
me too. And I'm actually the second person in the state of Virginia to have their charges vacated. I actually helped with the vacatur law. I helped with vacatur expansion. But I had two prostitution charges from 2004 and 2005. And I told the law enforcement then, I was like, hey, I don't even want to be here. I don't want to be here. This is not my scene. I want to go home. And they straight up treated me like a prostitute. Like I was worthless,
Yeah.
like I was nothing. And that has changed a little bit, but there's still such a stigma, on this. And so I understand that it's a lot for people to take in when somebody like myself or Lars is like, yes, and here's my story. Let me tell you all about it. Let me
Mhm.
tell you how we can fix it. Let me tell you all things that are wrong. Let me tell you what happened to me. Yeah, can I help you now? Like I understand that's a lot to take in. I understand that I'm a lot. So I'm trying to like give those therapists grace. So I use a Monday night at 8 p.m. Central or 7 p.m. Central for any survivors that are seeing this that would like to join. We have an amazing group, and it's literally my lifeline. It is my lifeline. I don't know what I would do without those Monday nights. Even if it's like sometimes it's not. I don't know if it's everybody. Even if it was just me and Laura. Even if it was just
Mhm.
me and Laura showing up, she shows up every Monday at the same time, and she is consistent, and she is there for survivors, and that is huge. And I appreciate that so much. Like it is.
You know what,
Stop it.
Kristen?
Get it
You
together. I
are,
love you so
let me
much.
let
You are
me
so
just tell you,
beautiful. I love
you
you.
are so powerful right now. I mean,
I love you so much,
I'm
baby.
I'm
Oh.
trying not to cry, okay?
I'm a cry. No,
Because
I'm a
this
cry. It's fine.
is
It's fine.
She does it all the time. It's okay.
but when you said about the cameras, I don't know if you saw my eyes change because I thought about my house. I was not trafficked, but when I moved out here to Arizona, I met somebody online who also did the whole love bombing. And when I invited him here to live with me, because I felt like we're grown, we know what we're doing, we know this is for real, and all of this bullshit. I found that I was living with a narcissist scammer.
Wow.
And I think when he looked me up online and saw all of my videos and interviews that I had a presence online, I think he thought that I was just soaking in money. If I was, I wouldn't have a 9 to 5. And it wasn't until my parents had moved here, and I told my story on my coaching channel. When my parents came here, I pretty much was at this stance that I felt like I was being gaslit. There were just too many things going on. The stories that he told me were not consistent. And long story short, when I was able to get rid of him, and you know what? The dreams, it started off as dreams after he was gone. Very subtle, like him trying to come back. And it wasn't until after a while that the dreams started to become more violent. I would wake up in the middle of the night running to the window. That's how terrorized I felt. And I went and got cameras. And it's crazy because even though I didn't have your experience, the feelings are the same.
Yeah.
And this is why I like organizations like this, because when you go to a 12-step meeting, they tell you doesn't matter how much or how little you used, but what you want to do about your problem and
Correct.
how we can help.
I think that God built me for that. God knew the path that He was going to put me on. He knew that I was going to work in anti-trafficking. He knew the changes and the power that I can make. I had a raging drug problem, and I felt for a very long time like I put myself there. I had untreated mental illness. I was, depression, PTSD, ADHD. I had just had a sexual assault. I had just terminated a pregnancy. I knew nobody where I lived. I was in the most vulnerable place that I've ever been in my life. I was clean, but I was like a dry drunk. You know what I mean? I wasn't
Hmm.
going to meetings.
Hmm.
I didn't have a support system. I was just clean and I was working, and that was it. And so everything, like the totality of all of that, is what like got me there. And then once I was there, once I was, we were where I'm from. If you've seen the documentaries on Netflix about OxyContin and all the little doctors and all the area in Southwest Virginia that they ruined, that's my county. I
Hmm.
started doing oxys. We were getting oxys when I was like 13. I was doing oxys and going to a method and ended up going to a methadone clinic before I even graduated high school. It was
Hmm.
like it was so bad. They flooded our area with it. Purdue Pharma did. It ruined the entire Southwest Virginia. More friends than I can count that have overdosed than not. People out there their jobs. There's rampant alcoholism and unemployment, and like it was the start of like the downfall of this area. It's a very rural area. I, from a young age, had already been like kind of like in the drug world. So, but the thing is, I also grew up very sheltered. That was something I said earlier. I grew up very sheltered, but not sheltered in like we're not going to tell you about the world. But like I just never, I get my parents, I guess, never thought that I would be in a situation like that. Like nobody ever told me like don't have sex for money, which I was like, well, hey, if that had been in the beginning, I was like, hey, if I'm gonna do it, why not get paid for it? And I was cute and I was
That's what
doing
my
things. I
first
was
So
pimp
for
flying.
said too.
you, for
I was
you,
flying
you
all over the
found the
country.
justification. You were
Yeah.
thinking this, it was justified what you were doing,
And
in
I
other
thought I
words.
was there by my own
Absolutely.
choice. I didn't understand I mean, I knew people, I knew obviously somebody's making something off me. Like I got that, but I didn't
Mhm.
know the extent of it. I didn't understand that what a huge commodity that I was until I figured out that I wanted to leave. And then that was not an option anymore.
So let's close out with any final thoughts. Let's talk about what the outlook is for Survivor Source, the projects that you're working on, Kristen, how both of you are working in conjunction together, and how people that are watching this video can
You should
help,
fill
whether
up.
it's donations, whether it's volunteer work, donating clothes, because I'm not sure if you accept donations of clothes and things of that nature. Please, Lara, if you could just fill us in on how anybody can help.
Absolutely. I would like to also say I don't necessarily come from like a faith-based position. And for anyone else out there that does feel that way and resonates with that, it's the same meaning for me going into this work after experiencing 10 years of being trafficked and like being able to do that beside Kristen. She's just been a support for me just as much as I have for her. I know she always tells us about the Monday nights and everything, but Kristen was there when I was going through my own crises like earlier this year, and I had to get my own security cameras. Kristen was there for me. So she is just as much there for me. But I have found a lot of passion and drive and everything that I've needed to do what I do just out of sheer grit. And I think that that's enough for anyone that is interested in going into this kind of work or interested in
Mhm.
looking for community or for services or anything like that. Survivor Source itself has a listing of resources and partners, and everything that I've listed I have personally vetted. So everything that's on the website survivors can access. It takes them directly to other service providers websites. They can sign up to be a part of the career community that Kristen was talking about earlier. They can do that directly off Survivor Source's website. And Kristen and I are also getting some links together. I don't know if it'll be ready in time, but for some of the other things we have going on, donations can be made on survivorsource.org. It'll take you to the Give Butter page to make donations there. And Kristen and I, again, are partnering with Devil Dog Canine to form a program for survivors to get service dogs trained specifically catered to them. And I'm going to be receiving one of the first dogs, Luna. So I'm really excited about that. And we're going to do like a whole big show out event out here in Oklahoma when they bring Luna out here. So it's going to be awesome. We're actually going to do an event for like 10 to 20 survivors and have painting and martial arts and all types of stuff. So anything Kristen and I do together, we make it a lot of fun for everyone
It's
involved.
always successful, right? Like we always like it just works.
Yeah, but we're working on actually we've been in the talks of developing a peer support program. So that's like in the baby stages, but it's something that we've both been interested in and kind of called to do. And yeah, I mean, Kristen, I don't know, we have so many ideas that we've talked about together. I don't know, there's like a million.
So yeah, so I just want to just to dovetail on that, or yeah, just sort of dovetail, just to go with that. So we are actually we have planned and figured out logistics. It's called the Art of Survival, and it will be the first Saturday, either the first or second Saturday in October. I've got to
Yeah.
look check my messages. And so we any survivors that are in Oklahoma, well, Oklahoma City, right?
Yes.
So, like, you're welcome to come. We're going to have like a registration form. This is the thing about survivors. We have to talk to each other. We have to be in
Yeah.
community with each other because there's so much division. If you work in anti-trafficking, because of all, like, I won't even go into it. I'll do that on a TikTok. But because of
Yeah.
all the budget cuts and this, we are coming from a place of scarcity, right? Like, there is literally probably an eighth of the funding available now that has been
Yeah.
available for the last 20 years, maybe a 16th of it. It's
I will
literally
also
like,
say
oh, sorry.
too, Kristen, if people wanted to donate their time and volunteer, that is extremely helpful too. I did,
Right,
Maribel
like
did mention that, and I didn't say anything about it, but if you're good at anything or want to learn something to help others,
or like
reach out to us. We can
yeah,
use
like
you
if
for
you
any,
do
like
web
literally
design,
anything. We
web
are so
design.
spread thin.
Yeah,
It's
or if you
like
might just want to be like an
ridiculous.
assistant. Wait, a web design, or like if you do
I
web
may
pages,
just help
or if
you
you can
guys
help
out because
survivors.
I'm thinking over here, how can I help? But we'll talk about that offline.
Literally
So
anything.
what
Like,
I was gonna say is so for this retreat, we are trying to raise $1,500
yep,
for that is going to pay for our okay. So it's gonna in the morning we're going to be at the dojo. We're going to have take survivors through self defense classes, like practical self defense that they can use.
yep.
And it's so empowering to be able to do something like that. I know Laura's already been through a lot of those things. She knows
I'm
more
a
about it
yellow
than
belt
me.
now at the
Yep.
Hoshin Dojo. Yeah.
So we're gonna do that in the morning, and then we're gonna have lunch, and then we're gonna then like maybe from like 1 to 4, we're gonna do artwork, and we're still figuring out like are we gonna do like a guided painting or like an art therapist, like that kind of thing. But we're raising $1,500 to supply art, paints, canvases, easels, all the brushes, and lunch for everybody. And we think $1,500. So if anybody wants to donate and help us with this retreat, you need to
Or
go
donate
to
art supplies
yeah, or
or
donate art
Yeah,
food
supplies.
if
that
you're a local
Or if you're
most
vendor.
in
definitely.
Oklahoma and you're an art therapist or you're an artist and you want to come chill with us and like help us figure all that out, we're like so accessible. Please reach out to us. We're on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, like we're everywhere. But it's
And
just,
I'll
or if you just
definitely
want to
put
like
those links down below.
throw in like $5, $10, $20, like so we can get some paints and brushes. Every little bit counts. SurvivorSource.org. There's a PayPal link. It's also 100% tax deductible because it is a 501c3. If you're a company and you are looking, because I noticed we're getting halfway through the year, most companies have corporate matching programs. So if you're
Yep.
an employee, ask your company, and if you want to donate $100, your company will donate $100. Again, tax deductible. For anybody listening to this, like I'm a fundraiser. I have to do that in there. Yeah, any of the things we talked about, if you're interested in, like with the service dogs, the peer support training, the OSINT, or if you're a survivor, like please reach out to us. We're trying to build like the biggest survivor badass community that we can.
You know what? I have some
Jazz
ideas
hands.
that I just thought about when you were talking. I sell essential items. I have a shop called servebox.com, and I sell soaps and things of that nature. And these are all essential items. So maybe we can talk offline about
Ooh.
putting something
Well,
together.
yeah, we were
That
gonna
would
try
be
to make some
amazing.
swag bags for everybody. So we were gonna try to get some
Yes.
donations from different people.
Ooh.
Ooh, Maribel, girl, yes.
I'm grateful for the both of you for being here and sharing your stories and just opening up your heart. I will leave all of the links down below. I'm going to go ahead and end this show. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you are a person right now watching this somehow, some
Mhm.
way, or you know somebody who is experiencing some kind of trouble, please, please, please visit the websites down below. And if you have any questions, you can direct it to Lara
Yep.
and Kristen. They
People can
will
DM
be
me. They can
more,
DM both of us. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
absolutely listen. We're
absolutely.
very accessible, and we have
we're
loads
here
of
for
networks
it.
and resources.
They will be more than happy to help you. And with all that being said, this is Maribel Blues signing off. Always remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and most
Bye.
importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Maribel.
Thank
This was
you.
awesome.
Bye.